Alright, what's going on, y'all? So, um, to be lean or not to be lean, that is the question. So I've been, roughly 10% body fat before. And while I will tell you it's definitely possible, it is something that you want to think about if that's something that you're trying to pursue. Being lean like that is no joke. So like, I was about, and this is like 2015 or so, I was like, according to my calipers, 10.6% body fat. And you kind of see my abs and everything. But that was a challenge. Now, me personally, like most of my life, I have been naturally kind of lean, especially in my arms and legs, my extremities. Um, I always kind of maybe carried a little bit around here though. So when I proceeded to, try to get lean and whatnot, I was doing like this fitness challenge. And I had to do a lot of tweaking. So the main things that I did were like reducing my carbohydrates and stuff. I already didn't have an issue with drinking like tea and soda and stuff like that. But like I was reducing my carbs, breads and other kind of processed snacks and stuff like that. And then of course I was doing, I was doing my calisthenics back then, and I was doing like my cardio, which then was probably me doing some rope jumping, maybe some interval training, jogging, and stuff like that. And so anyway, the thing about it was that I really had to work hard to bust through plateaus. Because what continued to happen is that I would get to a point where I was losing the fat, and ultimately I think I ended up losing about, because I wasn't very heavy and I was trying to maintain muscle, I probably lost almost 10 pounds. And, but I kept on hitting plateaus. So like literally I would get to a place where my fat loss stagnated. I could see the results in my ab region, but it would stop. And so then I would have to tweak a little bit more, like maybe reduce my carbs a little more. Now I wasn't counting carbs. I don't count stuff like that. I just would like eat carbs certain times of the day or something like that, and kind of keep track of them that way, because I don't like to count stuff. I don't think it's necessary either. It can help, but it's not necessary. But I kept on having to tweak and tweak, so it's like literally you lose some weight and then it would plateau, and then you lose some more and it will plateau, and lose some more and plateau. So it's pretty exhausting. So that was one of the challenges of getting lean. And then another thing with it is that, you were hungry. You definitely were hungry, because what happened is you were having to not just reduce your carbs, but also somewhat reduce the amount you ate. Now, I could mitigate some of that, because when you eat a lot of non-starchy vegetables, which are low in carbohydrates, then, you can eat a decent volume of food. It just kind of runs through you pretty fast. And it doesn't fill you up like carbs will. And so you felt more hungry. I wasn't doing a whole lot of protein. Protein to help you feel more full, but I was trying to do a whole lot of that because, I was kind of trying to reduce animal protein, at least to some degree, at least not be eating it all day long. But you felt hungry, and you can get kind of used to it, but it's a challenge. So when I see somebody who's really lean, like, even actors, actresses, athletes, well, I say more so actors and actresses, when I see those folks who are really lean, I guarantee you they're very, very restricted with their diets. And it's not a place that you really want to be 24/7. I remember reading a story about Michael B. Jordan training for Creed, and he was talking about how, I think Monday through Friday, he was eating basically chicken bread, I think some sort of protein like chicken breast, a green vegetable, and maybe he was eating some rice, like brown rice, something like that for carbohydrates, like almost all day. Very clean, very, very clean. And then he was doing a lot of working out. So he was actually doing like um, choreography training for the boxing. I think he was doing actual boxing training. He was running. He was training like a boxer, but he was like really, really strict diet. But then they would let him kind of let it all hang out on the weekend. So he would eat all these Philly cheesesteaks and different things like that. And so but anyway, very, very restrictive diet, and as a way of life, it's tough. So like my advice to you is, if you want to get lean, if you really want to get lean, that's fine. But just know that it's probably going to take a lot of diet tweaking and busting through plateaus, and it's also going to take you're going to have to be hungry too. Period. You're going to have to be hungry. Now, I think the only way to get around that kind of stuff is if become you eat generally clean, and then you become like very active, like as a part of like your life, i.e. like an athlete. You still got to eat pretty clean, but like you may not have to worry so much about carbs and stuff. Like when you think, for example, about the swimmer Michael Phelps, who was eating 15,000 calories a day, lots of carbs and stuff like that, and his diet wasn't really the healthiest. I mean, I think he was getting in some good nutrients, but he also was getting in a lot of junk too. But the thing with him was he was swimming for 6 hours a day. 6 hours a day. That is a tremendous amount of cardio, and even some level of strength training to a degree. If you look at him, he had a relatively muscular physique. So anyway, that's what comes with being lean. The average person doesn't have to be lean, but what I opt for is I opt to, I'm striving to become better at this, but I opt to eat like a generally overall clean diet, making sure I get in all the nutrients, don't get in a whole lot of junk, and then I do the kind of activities I want to do, like sprints like I just finished doing, calisthenics and weightlifting, every now and then competing in like a 5K or some sort of other fitness challenge. I may do an obstacle course challenge or calisthenics challenge soon. So different things like that, and being able to do what I want to do and being highly active. If I get lean, like ultra lean and ripped, great, but I want that to be like a side effect rather than like the thing I'm aiming for, because since I've been there before, I understand now what it takes. And another thing I noticed too, which you may notice, is when I got lean, I noticed that my ab development wasn't quite what I thought, and so my abs didn't really show the way I wanted them to show. But I think it's because my abs need to be more developed, which is something else I'm working with. If your abs are more developed, then it'll be easier for your abs to show up than somebody whose abs are not developed. When I say developed, I mean like you strength train them to the point that they actually pop, as they say, like the little muscle chunks, or the nuggets, or whatever you want to call them, actually come out some. And so you have that kind of three-dimensional effect versus it being like a flat board with lines, if that makes sense. Okay, so if you want to be lean, that's cool. You just got to know that you got to roll up your sleeves and get to work. So anyway. If there's one thing I've learned about getting fitness results, it's that a big key to losing weight, building muscle, and getting stronger is making sure that you make continuous progress from one workout to the next. This is why I have tracked my workouts for the past 20 years. So I've created a special digital fitness journal that you can use to track your workouts the same way that I do, to ensure that you make the continuous workout progress necessary to get the results you desire. You can record exercises, sets, reps, and even take notes to keep track of those nitty gritty yet important workout details. There's also space to track your big fitness goals, as well as a spot to record your weight and waist circumference so you can really see your results. Get your copy today of my digital fitness journal so you can start moving toward your results right now. Link is in the description.